The channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Today, we're going to be giving you an honest assessment of the 49ers quarterback competition through the first 5 practices of OTAs. Let's start off with the quarterback actually who hasn't been at OTAs, Brock Purdy. We had an update on the 49ers starting quarterback from the end of last season. He's coming back from his UCL surgery. The positive update that we saw this morning is that Brock Purdy has begun his throwing routine. We knew that already, but the reports today are that he threw on Monday, threw again on Wednesday, both throwing sessions using a full-size football, and he hasn't had any issues with in terms of soreness or any of those kinds of things. So that's a good trend for the 49ers quarterback. He's a little ahead of schedule. The 49ers had stated that they would know more on Purdy's situation 12 months post-surgery, 12 weeks post-surgery, which would have been tomorrow on Friday. But instead, he started a couple of days ahead of that, just a little bit ahead of schedule for Brock Purdy. And that's a positive note. Based off of the first 5 days of OTAs, the 49ers need Brock Purdy. Let's just say that when it comes to the quarterback position. So let's go ahead. We know that where Purdy is. We're not sure when he's going to be back. The 49ers are hopeful that he's going to be ready to go for training camp. We'll see where it is with Purdy in terms of his ability to actually make that time frame. Is he going to be there week 1? Is he going to be there a couple days after, weeks after? At what point does Brock Purdy able to get back? Like I said, right now, the progress for Brock Purdy is trending in the right direction. But in terms of how this all plays out, that's anybody's best guess. Just depends on how he continues to recover from that UCL surgery, the internal brace that he had back early in March on March 10th. So Brock Purdy trending in the right direction. Now let's get to the guys who have been at practice so far. I'm just going to give you the numbers. We'll break it down there. We'll get into some of the different aspects of this quarterback competition so far. The 49ers have had 5 practices. The media's only been there twice. So when I'm talking about the numbers, we're going to be talking about 2 of the first 5 practices. So there has to be an understanding that there's been some other things that have been going on. We know that there's been some interceptions that have been thrown based on the answers that were received yesterday after practice and talking to some of the different players in terms of whether that was Isaiah Oliver or Brandon Ayuk. We know that there's been some interceptions, but during the sessions open to the media, there haven't been any. So far, remember, these numbers are based off of the first 2 practices that the local media has been able to attend. That was day 2 of last week, day 5, which was on Wednesday of this week. Trey Lance, so far during OTAs, 18 of 29. Sam Darnold, 21 of 28. And then you have Brandon Allen, the free agent signing, who is expected to be the 49ers number 3, number 4 quarterback. He's been perfect so far. The ball hasn't touched the ground when he's been throwing during 7-on-7 drills. He has been 12 of 12 so far. Now, when we look at these numbers, let's dig into them a little bit further. Lance, like I said, 18 of 29, but that also has 5 drops marked in there. So if you add those 5 drops, put those as completions, because those drops, remember now, to be a drop, the ball's got to hit the guy in the hands. It can't be a crazy type of catch, anything like that. These are all balls that should have been caught, like routine types of catches. And you look at it for Trey Lance, there's 5 of those, so he should be 23 of 29. Those are pretty good numbers. Sam Darnold, 21 of 28. He has 4 drops, so that would put him at 25 of 28. So the 49ers quarterbacks right now have been pretty good in terms of completion percentage. I think it's important to note that most of these throws have come during 7-on-7, so there's no offensive lineman, no defensive lineman. It makes it a lot easier for the quarterbacks. These are the types of things that really play into the favor of the quarterback. You can sit back there. You don't have any pressure. You can just check it down at will. You can hold on to the ball as long as you want because there's nobody coming to get you, so you don't have to really move your feet, those types of things. So it definitely favors the quarterback in that respect, but it also makes it a little bit harder at times to get the ball down the field because your linebackers and your safeties don't have to respect the run fake. So if you're running play action, they don't have to bite on it. So they're going to get a little bit more depth maybe than they normally would, which makes it a little bit tougher on those windows to throw the ball over the middle. So you might see a few more checkdowns in that range. And that's really what we've seen so far. It's really been a checkdown fest for the most part. A little bit more of that coming from Trey Lance actually than Sam Darnold. I don't want to get too far down that road. What I'll say is that there's the ball's hasn't traveled more than 5 yards downfield very often when Trey Lance has been at quarterback. It's pretty much been 5 yards and in with an occasional throw down the field slightly. So, one of the hot topics around 49ers Twitterverse over the last couple weeks, really all off season, has been quarterbacks throwing the ball downfield, quarterbacks attempting to get the ball downfield. So let's look at that in terms of throws that have gone beyond 20 yards so far during this OTA session. You have Sam Darnold at 3, and you have Trey Lance with 1. Darnold is 1 for 3 on those throws over 30 yards or 20 yards, excuse me. If we look at those throws, the first one was a deep ball down the left sideline in practice 2. He was trying to hit Danny Gray. Gray got a step on the defensive back. The ball was a little underthrown. So it was a contested catch. That one doesn't go as a drop, and it was an incompletion there. In Wednesday's practice, yesterday, the first play of the practice was Darnold going deep down the middle of the field to Danny Gray Jr. again. This one hanging up again. Not a good throw. Hangs up in the air. Gray has to slow down. He gets up in the air. The ball hits him in the hands. He doesn't hold it onto it through the course of the catch. It's an incompletion. So that's the second one there. And then his one big completion was a deep over route to Brandon Ayuk that he hit the receiver between 20 to 25 yards downfield after play action. Really nice ball that he was able to fit in there for a big gain that went, like I said, it was a big gain. It was Ayuk working from right to left, play action, hit it, and was wide open. Drilled it into him. He can make those throws in his sleep. Darnold can. So he's 1 of 3 so far on those throws. Trey Lance, like I said, he just has the one throw down the field. That was yesterday in practice. He had a deep shot down the left sideline to Brandon Ayuk for a completion. Again, this ball was somewhat like the throw that Darnold had the week before. It's not a ball that was out in front of him. It wasn't a ball that he was able just to run under. In fact, Brandon Allen had a much better deep ball throw yesterday than the one that Trey Lance completed. The completion from Lance to Ayuk, the ball was underthrown. Ayuk had to adjust slightly. He was able to make the catch, but he was so far out in front, he was able to make the grab and keep on going. It wasn't like he had to stop his feet, don't get me wrong there, but it was one of those balls where it was up in the air. He had to adjust. He wasn't just running in stride and catching it and taking it the distance. So neither one of the quarterbacks particularly good on the deep throws, but I do think should be noted that of those throws that have gone down the field, Darnold has been more active in that range. In terms of team drills, I started off talking about how most of the numbers have been from 7-on-7 drills. In team drills with the offensive and defensive line, those numbers are very small, but both quarterbacks have thrown the ball 4 times in team drills. Trey Lance is 2 for 4 at this point. He had a near interception on a throw to the left flat in the practice last Tuesday. That was the ball to Kyle Juszczyk that he was late on. The ball nearly got intercepted. Curtis Robinson, the linebacker, making a nice play there. His completion was a little check down in the right flat to Elijah Mitchell. Then you get to the practice yesterday. He was 1 of 1 in the first part of it. A little 5-yard underneath check down throw type of throw, not a check down throw necessarily, but a little quick in from the receiver, short throw for a completion. And then he wrapped up practice with a play action throw, rolling to his left. He's got Danny Gray running an over route from left to right. He's open, and he's about 20 yards, maybe 15 yards down. He wasn't even 20 yards, about 15 yards downfield. And the ball skips to him, hit the ground about a yard in front of him, skips and hits Gray in the ankles, and that's it there. As far as Darnold has gone so far, he has 3 of 4 in team drills. He was 1 of 2 in practice the first go around yesterday, and then he was 2 of 2 in the second part. There was actually the way they broke it up. Another piece to this whole puzzle. There's been a lot of talk about the fumbles with Sam Darnold. It was noted during that day 2 practice that Darnold had a fumble, working with the second team offensive line, got the snap, dropped it. Yesterday, another fumble snap. This one was with Trey Lance. So both quarterbacks have had some issues there. In terms of the drops for Trey Lance, he has 3 drops from Ronnie Bell, the rookie One of those was a fall. It was one of his first throws of practice on Tuesday of last week. So the ball wasn't necessarily dropped, but it was one of those. It was a good ball, should have been a completion, but Bell was not able to keep his feet. The other one was to Ronald Awatt. That was yesterday. The running back dropped one, and so did Elijah Mitchell in the previous practice. And then as far as Sam Darnold, his drops have come from Danny Gray. He had one to Chris Conley as well, Elijah Mitchell, and Ty Davis Price with the drops over there. The overall theme of this practice, or my takeaway, my honest assessment of the 49ers quarterback situation right now, when you look at where they are, I said it in the beginning, the 49ers really need for Brock Purdy to come back, for Brock Purdy to be healthy, and for Brock Purdy to be the guy that he was at the end of last year. Because with the way that Trey Lance and Sam Darnold have played, at least so far, it hasn't been good. I will say this, is that if there's anybody who's been at both of these practices so far and reported back on these practices and said that one of these quarterbacks is playing better than the other, you need to wonder what kind of bias they have, because neither one of these guys has looked good. There's been nothing out of Sam Darnold or Trey Lance to say this guy is clearly better than the other. The only reason that I would put Trey Lance right now maybe ahead of Sam Darnold is just because Lance was the incumbent and Darnold hasn't done anything to beat him out. But at the same time, Lance hasn't done anything to beat out Sam Darnold. These guys, and this is where the 49ers were in 21. People were wondering why Trey Lance didn't beat out Jimmy Garoppolo in his rookie training camp. This is why, because Trey Lance didn't go into training camp practices and show, or even in the games in the preseason, and show that he was much better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's one of the things. If you're going to beat somebody out, you've got to be clearly better than the other guy. And right now, Sam Darnold is not clearly better than Trey Lance, and Trey Lance is not clearly better than Sam Darnold. So from that standpoint, I think that's why when you look at the 49ers quarterback competition right now, it's a dead heat between these two guys. We'll see how things progress. I think the biggest takeaway from all this is we really need to see the 49ers get an offensive and defensive line on the field and let these quarterbacks go at it. That'll help them with some of these throws where they're not having to check it down as much. I think the linebackers, safeties will be playing around the line of scrimmage a little bit more. So we'll see how that progresses as we go through. Randall over here in the comment section, pull him up. He's a member of the Toolbox. That's why he has a little dollar sign there. He says, are they still wearing shorts? They are. They're still in their shorts. They got the shorts and their helmets on. That being said, we've seen better play at the quarterback position than what we're seeing right now out of Lance and Darnold. Well, we're seeing it out of Brandon Allen. Now, I know that Brandon Allen's playing with against the threes, but he's also playing with the threes, that kind of thing. But the deal here is that Allen is doing the things that we saw from Brock Purdy in camp last year. He's pushing the ball down the field. It showed up right away. As soon as he stepped onto the field during the first practice on the Tuesday, the second practice of it, the first one where we were able to watch, you see him, one of his first throws is down the field. And Brandon Allen's not afraid to take those shots. He had one yesterday. Like I said, there's been talk about the long throw from Trey Lance down the left sideline, but the ball from Brandon Allen on his deep throw, that was the best throw of the day. Got the ball up, hit the receiver in stride, right over the top. The DB was, when he threw the ball, the wide receiver was not open. The receiver might have had half of a step when he made the catch. The quarterback put the ball right on the money, and that was the best throw of the day. And that's Brandon Allen, who right now is the 49ers' third-string quarterback. Don't expect Brandon Allen to be starting any games unless there's a crazy amount of injuries for the second year in a row. But right now, that's where the 49ers quarterback situation is. You got Brandon Allen looking the best, and you've got Trey Lance and Sam Darnold basically looking like the Spider-Man meme. We know the two guys are pointing at each other because there's really been no difference between Lance and Darnold when it comes to the team drills. I mentioned this in my post-practice quick hit yesterday, but Lance definitely took a step back in practice number 5 as compared to what we saw in practice 2. Not from what he was doing in the team stuff, in the 7-on-7 and in the team portion of it, where he wasn't very good there. There was a couple of bad throws. But one of the things when you watch Trey Lance at training camp or throughout the season is you'll get an idea of how his day is going to go by how he is at the beginning of practice. So, the quarterbacks are throwing to stationary targets at the beginning. They might have George Kittle or Christian McCaffrey or somebody running some, but most of the time it's just a stationary target to the ball boys that are out there. You have some coaches who are doing some, making them read like a linebacker or a safety, whoever the read is. And so they're either going to throw the ball over the top or short, what have you. They also do the little back and forth thing you've probably seen with the bags if you're watching the videos on the channel here. And yesterday, it was kind of like a turn back the clock day. Lance was very good in day 2 during that early portion where those are like the layups. Like think if you're there early for an NBA basketball game and you're watching the guys do the layup line, that's what these throws should be like in the NFL. An NFL quarterback should be able to go through these drills and get the ball to the target, or at least within the framework of the target. Yesterday we had Trey Lance in the bag drill going back and forth, just airmail it. I mean, it was over the top of the guy's head. It's in my shorts. You can check it there. There's a shorts video up of it, just way over the top of him, not even close. He kind of had one of those slightly during the earlier practice last week. Christian McCaffrey, though, has crazy hops and was able to get up and get it. But the one yesterday was it just wasn't good. He also had that happen on a throw to where they were working on their boot, and they had the coach either was getting upfield, making them stop their feet and throw it, or he'd come up underneath, and if it came underneath, the quarterback would keep going and make the throw. On one of those, he came up, forcing Lance to have to stop his feet and get the ball out of his hands quick. Threw that one into the ground at the feet of George Kittle. So it was just a mixed bag, right? Those are the throws you want to see guys hit repeatedly, and Lance struggled with that yesterday. So that's kind of where we are. The Buddha coming in with a super chat. Thank you to Buddha. He says, "Hey Jack, any dinking and dunking?" Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. We're out there and there's a ton of dinking and a little bit of dunking. Like I said, Lance has thrown the ball 28 times so far in terms of 7-on-7 team drills. And while the media's been there, 28 passes, one of them's gone more than 20 yards down the field. I think he has maybe 2 or 3 that have gone beyond 10 yards. So a lot of dinking and dunking, especially from Trey Lance. Say what you want. I'm not calling him a dinker and dunker. What I'm saying is that the balls are all coming out, are all short throws. Not sure exactly why. Some of them are late and all those different types of things. And we're seeing that with Sam Darnold too, but we've also seen Sam Darnold push the ball down the field slightly more. And again, it's not pushing it all the way down the field. Like I mentioned, there's 3 passes from Darnold that have gone past 20 yards. But there's also some more that are in that 5 to 10, 10 to 15 yard range. We saw a few of those, especially on Tuesday of last week. So it's been an interesting situation so far with the quarterbacks. And as far as the dinking and dunking, not taking a shot at anybody when I say that, but that's just, it is what it is. The ball's not going down the field very much right now. I don't think either of the quarterbacks have been particularly impressive. And like I said already, my big takeaway and my honest assessment is Lance and Darnold are tied in this situation right now. And the only reason Lance gets the Bennett would be ahead of Darnold is because he's the incumbent. Again, if there's somebody out there that's saying that, if you hear somebody that has been at these first 2 practices say player X, quarterback X is definitely better than blah, 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 you got to wonder, because there's some bias there, because it's not true. There might be some things that one player is doing better than the other, but the overall, so far, neither of these guys have separated themselves. Neither one of these guys are right there where they really look like they should be starting for the 49ers to this point. So there we have it. That's the show. If you guys can do me a favor, if you guys can please, before you leave, hit that like button for me. And then if you're not already tuned into the channel in terms of being subscribed, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because there's going to be lots of information that we'll be able to disseminate throughout this off season. A lot of shows, a lot of videos coming up from practice, more discussions. We'll have another live show tomorrow. If you guys can do me a favor though, hit that like button, hit subscribe. And once you hit the subscribe button, also turn on your notifications. Like I said, there you have it. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Really quick, I do have a super chat that I'm going to hit. It says, Blind Tom says, hi, Jack. Hey, not to be snarky, but can Trey hit the broadside of a barn? He can hit the broadside of a barn. Yes, he can hit the broadside of the barn. It's a matter of hitting the door, right? With the door's about the width of a person and about as high as a person. But so he can hit the barn door. That's where, it's, yes, most of the time he's going to. Sometimes he struggles with it. So right now it just hasn't been, for all of the discussion and all of the talk that we heard about Trey Lance's new throwing motion, there has not been a uptick in his performance to match all of the talk about the change in throwing motion from Trey Lance. So there you have it. That's it. Blind Tom, I appreciate that super chat very much. And like I said, I'm going to be going live again tomorrow. So keep it locked in here to the channel. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll be making sure that we bring you all the 49ers content right here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.